Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Overhuber and I'm your host. My guest today is Henry Kuyvenhoven. Hi.
Hello. Hello.
So great to have you today.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here again.
So I'll start with the question I asked you the last time as well and see what your answer is today. So how did you come to see the world the way you do today?
Wow. Yeah, it's a different question to me today. I see that. I used the Course in Miracles, and I actually did the work, the undoing that the Course in Miracles talks about. It's like there's a lot of confusion about this doing and not doing. And there's some people that use A Course in Miracles and say, I need do nothing. And I've read the book, and I'm still reading it, and it's been since 2003 that I was reading the book. And I had stopped in 2000, before 2003, I had stopped looking for a teacher. I knew the teacher would have to come to me because I couldn't recognize a teacher. It was funny. He came to my place of employment, not directly, but he was a teacher, sort of a Advaita Vedanta teacher, and I went to see him a couple of times. And actually, within the first short time, I thought, oh, the teacher has found me. And I just kept listening and listening and listening. And eventually he gave me A Course in Miracles. He said, you might enjoy reading this book. I was a really cocky, that means arrogant, middle-aged man. And I really thought I knew a whole lot. When I started reading the book, I didn't make it personal, but the very first thing that I did read was lesson 1. I thought I went through the index table of contents and thought I wanted to know what the book was. Oh, it's 2 books. Oh, look, workbook. Yeah, I like working on myself. So, and I read that first lesson, and well, it's gonna be fun to put this on video for somebody, because I've told this story quite often to people, but now I get to do it on video here. That'll be fun. There was a panic that happened to a Henry, like, that's not me anymore. Things have changed in my mind so much that I laughed, but I was not laughing then. I really thought, oh shit, I've got to get rid of this book. Oh, throw it in the garbage. No, that won't work. That won't work. The lady's gonna clean the garbage can, and she's gonna take the book out, open the pages, and then she's gonna see that, oh, that guy that was working here, he's a nutcase. We can't have him working in this place. I was replacing the farmer who was actually ill. I was a professional gardener, replacing the ill farmer to help keep the business running. And I went through a whole range of thoughts before I finished my break. I sat on the tractor, and I was in a completely different state of mind. that moment already, but I had already had several other kinds of awakenings. It wasn't my first one. Well, it wasn't my last one either. Oh man. Like the idea of awakening, and there's all these different levels actually, and everybody's going to be describing it the way they like, and so that's what I'm doing now. I'm describing it the way I like, and by using the ideas, all the concepts, and really applying them to the mind, to my mind. And I'm suggesting everybody actually do that. And like, it's fine to talk and discuss and write and text people about it and share like this, because we need demonstrations. And that's the guy that was on here last. That was amazing. It was an amazing video. It's just like in this world, we say a real life story, right? That's how we describe it. And this guy was authentic. That was on here last. I want to make contact with him. So that's a nice thing to be experiencing. So now, when I walk around in this world, I keep remembering, and this is like what I would say happens to a person who's really doing the Course in Miracles. You remember to do it, and you remember to do it, and then you forget, and you forgive yourself for forgetting, because ego loves to beat itself up for forgetting, and then it gets into this downward spiral, right? I'm so hopeless. I'm never going to get this. Right? That's one of the things it does. And that's not the word. That's ego. And so it's like when you fall, just like the original fall idea, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep walking. And that's been kind of my my forgiveness. Just keep going. Don't. Okay, you've delayed. It doesn't matter. Just keep going now. And it's like all those great gurus, they talk about the now moment. Well, that is what it is about. That is it. You can awaken now or now. And it's like that. Okay, so what's your level of awakening now? So you try to judge it. That's fine. Fine. Don't judge yourself for judging it. And you actually don't know is what you're going to find out. You don't know how awake you are. You try to compare yourself to other guys, right? Nice attempt, but it doesn't work. You just keep going. That's what you do. You just keep going. And then stuff starts to happen, like miracles, and you try to tell people about the miracle, but it's really funny. It's like a joke. You try to explain a joke, why a joke is funny. It doesn't work. Well, I've tried to do it a lot, but it takes the humor out of the joke. That's the problem. And miracles are not explained, and that's in that book. You can't really explain them. But when vision starts to change with the Holy Spirit, like there's this asking. It's like, I'm so pissed off at this person, or oh, this is so difficult. Everything is difficult. And then there's this asking. Okay, I see. This is not fun. I'm not having fun. I want to get back to having fun. I want to be my love again. I want that. I don't want this. And there is a doing in that. You've got to make that decision. You've got to turn. Or I did. I needed to turn. And I made it personal. I wasn't stuck in the idea of teaching others. Because some people get a little bit awake and then they get stuck just teaching. They stop healing their own mind, and that's not a when they don't. And then they pick themselves up and go further. And those are like awakenings. And so I actually see beauty that I can't describe in, how do I describe that? It's like I'm looking past the body, and there's an energy there standing before me. It's called an other person. And I'm amazed sometimes at how beautiful they are, just how incredibly beautiful they are. And they can be like 82 years old, full of wrinkles and deformed or fat. And it all doesn't, I'm still seeing that beauty. And I can't explain how that happened or why I was blessed to start seeing the world that way. But I think it's actually something that you are given because you're willing to be open to it. And that idea of protecting yourself, vulnerability, or keeping your walls and barriers up, that's a big part of this. To be just totally open and loving there, and not caring what the other person's going to do to you when you're that loving. And people do attack that. They don't like, ego does not like being loved. It wants everything to be normal. And I don't think normally about a lot of things. But I could give thousands of examples. Like, in a way, this world, just simply speaking, we lie to each other about how we talk with each other, and it's in the language, it's built in the language, it's built in the conditioning of the language, and we just accept it, and I do too. I let it go. I don't hammer people into my way of thinking. I let them not be honest about stuff. Like, I get this a lot in the job that I'm in now. It's bad weather, isn't it? Well, they use a few more adjectives in German than that, but I don't want to repeat them here in this video. And then I say, no, in my own mind. Then I don't. Sometimes it's appropriate to help people in that moment, see, and release the the conditioning. And that's something that is so personal for anybody who is connected to these ideas. You'll be led into that moment when it's appropriate and when it's not. And that feeling of knowing when it's right, when it's not right. And I don't care about the right, wrong problems people have with, nothing's right, nothing's wrong. There is right thinking and there is right action. And it'll feel loving, just purely loving, to sometimes help somebody. See, it's not bad weather. It's just raining, and we need rain, And okay, our job involves putting on raincoats and sometimes getting wet. And when it's too much rain, we stop working. It's that simple. So I don't complain about the weather. I don't do that. Besides, it was very nice weather here today, and I worked without a t-shirt. So that's kind of a beginning of trying to answer that question, but I could go on. Yeah, I could.
You mentioned in our previous conversation that you were an opera singer, and I'm wondering how the idea of voice comes together with A Course in Miracles, because of course we know that Helen Schuckman was saying she heard a voice. So she described her experience as a voice, right? Now, how do you see that? And then the connection with your own voice.
That's a fun question. because I really did enjoy the opera thing. I didn't grow up as a teenager loving opera. I hated it, and I thought it was nuts. And well, that's the complicated story. I don't want to get into that, but I was trained by a very professional singer. She sang with Jose Carrada and a couple of those other big tenors. And I was a tenor at the time, and I loved singing in the choir because my Christian upbringing, the one thing as a kid that I liked about church was singing. And so it brought me into my connection with my child again to sing that way. But this is what was curious to me, was the way a physical person hears in somebody else speaking. It comes into their ears. But when I speak, I hear myself too, but it doesn't come just in my ears. I'm resonating my whole body, and I can feel. And it's kind of fun to do this as an exercise. Sometimes when you're trying to be very aware of your physical body, feel when you're talking that all the parts of your body hear you talking. It's like the vibration goes through the whole thing. But you don't hear yourself like other people hear you. And when I got recorded, because I had to learn to sing with a tape recorder, and when I heard my own voice, I said, "Oh, is that what I sound like?" And I was surprised that people actually liked my voice. They thought it was a beautiful opera voice, and I was allowed to sing a few concerts, solo pieces, and I started thinking about becoming a professional. And this was way before A Course in Miracles, and I started having some awakenings with energy, and I was a little surprised because let's see, I couldn't read notes, and I was still up on the stage singing, and I was terrible in my rhythm. I was so solo singer that the orchestra had to follow me, and there's not many orchestras that want to do that. Usually the conductor says, "No, you follow our rhythm." But a really good opera singer, he knows how much the orchestra can follow, and when he's taking too much leeway, too much freedom, and he'll show off his capabilities in places where the orchestra is not involved. And but when I started recognizing that I could do things with my voice, and I didn't hurt my body doing it. Actually, my body enjoyed the singing, and I didn't understand that until much later. Now I still sing, but I don't do opera. I sing for myself, and sometimes for a few people if we're enjoying ourselves together. And about the voice, what I started to recognize when I was in public, and I was with other singers, and there was one time when I was on the stage, and there were some really special people in the audience for me, and then something changed. I felt energy leaving my body, going to everybody, and they said thank you, and then it came back to me through the thank you. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. What's going on? And then I saw the circular movement of energy. I thought, really interesting. So I won't get tired because I'm just feeling the love from the audience, and I'm giving it. And that was my experience with this energy and using my voice. Now I'm going to jump, and that's kind of what happens with my mind now. I just suddenly jump into another thing without seeming like there's a connection. But we're talking about voice, so multiple personality disorder. Big word, but that's what ego is. Like, but when somebody is really honest and starts really looking at their mind, they're going to find out that they are usually a different person with their children, if they have children, and then if suddenly the boss comes into the scene, like if they're employed, or the president of the country, you would suddenly be something different. Your personality changes really quickly, and you might be very vulnerable and open and playful with your children, but you would suddenly boom switch. So there's these different voices in our mind that adjust according to with whom we are and what the circumstances are. Like, and that's kind of like multiple personality disorder, and these things actually happen in this world. That some people are like so psychologically multiple that it does seem like different personalities in them. But this is not what Helen was experiencing. I don't believe that. I believe it was the
I'm going to say something about the thing of being different depending on whom you are with or where you are at or in which situation. Because there's a theory that comes from Pierre Bourdieu. It's called the habitus theory. And he's a French sociologist sociologist. And he said that depending on whom you are with or which situation or what it is, people tend to have a different way of acting. So he was speaking about that. And so that was a way that you could analyze things using that theory. And he had a whole lot of explanation to it. And he was not saying that it has to do with the ego or that you're crazy because of it. Because I think he thought it made sense that if you're with painters, you speak other things and you do things differently than when you're in a scientific context or if you're with your children.
So what I notice is that it's energy. The energy of a child feels completely different to me than my colleague at work who thinks he knows who I am, and he has an energetic relationship with me, and I don't give him the same energetic relationship every day, because when I'm in my own beingness, I know it fluctuates. I know I'm in a certain energetic mode because of the thought. Sometimes I'm thinking about some very, very beautiful things, and I'm in a very beautiful energy because of the thoughts that I'm experiencing, and then he comes into my awareness. I might turn to him, and then he's so beautiful to me. I'm just in love with him. But he, of course, he's not going to understand that. But that's the energy that I give him, and then he doesn't know what's going on because it's a different energy. So, like the psychology that I was talking about, when somebody doesn't understand energies, then they're going to think that they're different people in different circumstances. But when the energy is understood, then no, it's all you. But that's where, and this is where I hold on to this idea in my mind, because this is going to sound a little strange, but I hear thoughts from other people, right? And so that kind of makes the idea that there are others real to me. Yes, that it is that way. But the way that I undo that with Holy Spirit is Holy Spirit says to me, well, whose mind is it? It's like, because I have a body and you have yours there, that doesn't mean that we can't talk to each other without bodies. We do. And some people call that telepathy. I don't usually call it that, but it's kind of like that idea. And I know that happens. I know it. Because it bothers people that somehow or other that I do that. And I don't know that I do it sometimes. But there's some people that know me, and we have that together, and we just use it for only good, and it's not like we do it. It's more something that just happens to us, and we're open to it. Sometimes we recognize it with each other, and say, oh, okay, that's what's happening. So about the voice for me, and this is like, I don't like talking about this because it's very personal. And I have a personal relationship with Jesus. It's for me. It's not for you. But that's crazy, because of course, what I'm suggesting is that voice that spoke to Helen, and that's what's so beautiful about reading the other editions, is that they show how intimate Jesus was with Bill and Helen. And I've been reading the Blue Book version since, well, 2021. And then I was given another edition, which I had asked Jesus to organize for me. And how that was given to me was like one of those things I called miracles, because I was having a lot of trouble with this one woman. I had been having that with her for years, and she was the one who gave me this book, and we became incredibly deep friends after that. And just such a beautiful way of organizing my life for my healing and hers. It was well, divine. That's what I think of it that way. And so the way I hear the voice of Jesus is a little different than what other people would be hearing it, because he likes to talk to me. Even if Henry's an illusion and all that, he gears it to the life that that Henry has had. And I haven't been a very gentle character, and I sometimes am extremely gentle, but so that's kind of, and with the voice of Holy Spirit, and like I was writing on this on the internet just before we got online here, that, and I took it off of the internet, like I was writing on it, but then I decided not to post that. And the Holy Spirit is kind of like above Jesus. And that's not the way Course in Miracles talks about it. But during my reading of it, that's what my impression was, that Jesus learned from the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit started moving through him and did the miracles. That's the way he would have explained it. He says, I don't do anything. It's the Holy Spirit moving through me. So like the way he kind of describes the Holy Spirit sometimes to me, it's like a being almost. It's like a creation of God, and he is too, and so are you and I. But it's a little different, and that's really confusing for people who use the idea of non-duality in with A Course in Miracles, because it looks like duality, but that's not what Jesus is saying. He's saying the mind of separation. You see, that's really different.
Yeah, so the Holy Spirit, yeah, well, in A Course in Miracles, it says the Holy Spirit is the solution that was given when the thought of separation came up. It was at the same time the solution was given. So, yeah, so whether above or below or whatever, it's the solution. So I guess it doesn't really, yes, there's probably differences, you could differentiate it and so on, but it always comes in the end that it all is one. The creator, the child of the creator, and the Holy Spirit is all one. So in truth, it's of course as well non-dual, right? But of course, if you want to describe it so that you can get different nuances, then you need the language of the Holy Spirit has these functions, you as the child of God have those functions, and the Creator, to differentiate, say the Creator instead of you being the Creator, so that you can recognize your innocence, right? And let go of that attachment to being a sinner, right? Or thinking you are a sinner.
Well, because of my Christian upbringing, somewhere in my mind is still a block, which is I'm buried with the idea of being called a sinner. The way that I had to do it for me to get it more vital again was that I am not mistaken, and it looks like I'm making errors. Yes, but there are no errors, none. And it's like a judgment to say somebody is doing something wrong, and I have to use that in this world, and you can't raise children, or you can't instruct somebody in how to tie a knot, or how to dig a tree out, or how to prune a bush without the idea of no, that's not quite accurate. This is the way you need to do it according to my understanding. And by couching it in such a imprecise way that the student gets too uncertain. They're still used to the very egoic way of saying, no, that's wrong. You have to do it like this. And it's like that's what they're conditioned with. And when I teach people even how to dig a hole for a tree, then I can do that without saying that's wrong how you're doing it. And it feels better for me. I don't like telling people they're wrong because it's not true. They're just learning. That's all. And like if everything is a lesson that God would have me learn, where would the error be? There couldn't be one. Everything is a lesson. So like I know this is going to sound like way over the top, but like like the criminals in the jails who have killed people. You see, it's like if you're going to make them wrong, well, I don't want the rapists of my children uh, to not in some way be out of the society so that they can get help. You know that like in my new justice system, the way I think about justice, we really give those people help. They're so confused, so confused. And but they're not wrong. They're confused. They haven't learned something. But our society has made them. I have made them. You have made them. They're not guilty. And this is how I think A Course in Miracles can be used even in this world. It's not just I'm upholding your mind. I'm healing my mind. Well, yes, but eventually you're allowed to touch this world with your mind, and it's allowed to become a beautiful place. And it's not. I'm not doing it because I'm thinking it's real. I'm doing it because I love. And that's very different. It's like there's this fear that comes up in me still too, but less and less. Is to admit that I love you, and that it's natural. You know. And you can't say that to everybody. You have to lie to them. I really like you, or you say you're a great colleague, but the truth of it, the way I experience it, I just love them, and I know that. I'm not trying to kid my mind, but sometimes they do not so nice things, and then I have my moment of am I willing to forgive now? You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of topics here. And I had guests who actually work with people who are in prison, right? Who experience it. And they go and speak with them and spend time and so on. And so it's a very practical teaching because they're coming with A Course in Miracles and thoughts from it and the way they're working with it. And then sharing that with these people, right? Who are indeed in the dream incarcerated for something they um, did in the dream. Yeah.
I was recently in my mind going over some things with a new justice system. How would that look? What if this world is ready for that? How would it look? Like here again in Germany, uh, where I'm using this body, there's been an accident where somebody attacked alien residents, and like I don't like that. When I hear that, I don't like it. It's not like forgiveness allows me to, and my love allows me to like what ego does. No, and that it is ego that does that. Yes, but whose ego is it? You see, and if I project it onto the other one, that's exactly what ego does. It just projects it onto the other one. So I don't work that way in my mind. What I do with my mind is I say, oh, we haven't loved him enough. What have we not done? Where is it in our mind that he would come into such a confusion? How could we allow that? And so I start looking at the whole thing. Like isolated in his thinking, like, and his community had not helped him to understand yet about what it means to be an alien. And I, as a Canadian is what they call me, Canadian or Dutch, work in Germany, and I've been working here for over 10 years. So I know what it feels like when people call me an alien. Well, I feel alien anyway, but what I mean is it can be derogatory. When, so I play with this a lot, and as soon as I start speaking, because of my accent, they ask me where I'm from, and of course, because I have this Course in Miracles almost constantly on my mind, I'm trying to remember where I am from, and I usually answer with some kind of jokey, fun thing to do, because I get it asked thousands of times per year, and I like having fun. But the alienation, that is what happens, and when people have to flee their own countries and seek refuge in another country, they're already very traumatized, and so somehow this man that had racial things in his mind, he wasn't helped to see that as a child or something. And so our society isn't allowing that. Our societies, and it's like the separation thing. Like, America's there, Germany's here, Austria's there, and so this has been happening on a huge global scale, that nations are mixing. And this is what I call the Great Awakening. It is a plan that nations are mixing to come back and allow a new way of being. And for me, A Course in Miracles came into this world at an excellent time, so that it could help, along with many other systems, guide us into a new justice system. And I see it coming, but I'm trying to help it come in my own way. And this video is part of that.
Yeah. Why don't we go into another topic? You have this wish to share your thoughts, and you were speaking about public speaking in form of podcasts and so on, and you are working on that. And how is it going for you? Do you want to share about that?
Yes. What's been recently happening on Facebook with some of the very big groups in A Course in Miracles group it's pretty wild, and I tried to help people recognize what the issue was and is, but there's a struggle to dethrone Kenneth Wapnick as the first teacher of A Course in Miracles. And I don't know how to say it in that, but there's people who protect him, saying he is the real teacher, and the other ones are and I find that a little bit confusing as to how are they missing what A Course in Miracles is teaching to do either of the two. I'm trying to find the clarity in my mind right now to address this, because they're all friends of mine, and some people are kind of nasty towards me because I've been trying to keep it open and say, well, these other books, which are legally allowed to be called, because the there was a lawsuit. I suppose you know about this, but
Yes, I actually had Teddy Poppy Jr. on the podcast, and he could share his perspective on it. And
I should listen to that.
So yes, I've heard different views on it, but the end effect is that the various versions are all legally available of A Course in Miracles, every edition, and that the material, as far as I understand, the material that was given to the Library of, I think it's the Library of Congress or something, that has it, that is available for everyone. So, yeah.
So I was writing on the internet recently about this, and what I was saying is, and I think this was a gift to me to help me understand it, because it happened early in the morning when I was coming out of what's called sleep, and a whole stream of really beautiful thoughts was occurring to me, and that sometimes doesn't happen, and sometimes it does. That morning, it was like that voice, like we were talking about, and it just said stuff like, and I don't when I'm hearing it, I don't think this way about it. I'm so joined with it. It feels like me. It feels like part of me, and I don't think of it as separate, right? That's not how after I talk about it, then I don't know how else to talk about it, right? So the thought was that in this world, which looks like separation, like you're over there having your ideas, and I'm over here. You've read the books that you've read, and I've read a lot of books too, but it always comes down to, and I don't like putting it this way, but I don't know how to, your judgment of what is correct and accurate and truthful, and mine. And then we might find a place together where we're saying, well, how do you look at that? How do you see that as being true? I see it as not being true. And then if we have an open mind with each other, we can talk about it. But it has to be a looking with each other. And if it's like an opinionated, argumentative, not that argumentative is bad, but it's not as useful as looking together. And I was trying to explain that with okay, so you've got all these books, and they're allowed to be called A Course in Miracles, and somebody else beats the other guy in the head saying, no, it's not allowed to be called A Course in Miracles because this is the only one and only. Why don't you recognize that the Constitution of the United States has set up a justice system, and now it is allowed to be called that, and you're so caught up in that. But it's not wrong, but you are caught up. And so what it comes down to for me is it valuable for me? Do I find that Jesus said those words? And like I've read other books that said Jesus said, and I sometimes think, that doesn't seem right to me. That he couldn't have said that. You see, and I do make that judgment, yeah. So, and it comes down to that with for anybody, and I try to make that point really, really, really clearly. So let's not be beating each other up for using what we call our own mind to make the decision. Like here, if you judge me saying, well, that wasn't the Holy Spirit, Henry, you might be accurate. You might be. Right? But it's such a dangerous thing to say to somebody else, to make that kind of a judgment. And I don't think that that's what judgment was for. And I know that judgment is like a bad word, bad word for course and student participants, but if it's read, the book is read enough, then there's going to be places in where it will be explaining that yes, that is what you do, and there is good judgment, accurate judgment, and if you judge with Holy Spirit, then you get what's called right perception, not wrong perception. And so like all this trying to throw away the words, it doesn't really work that way. When judgment stops in your mind or my mind, it's an incredible thing, and it stops sometimes. It really does. And then there's this incredible beingness and unity. And I've had one of my biggest awakening moments exactly with that, where everything just was. And the guest of the last time explained that he had that directly after the doctor said, "We don't know when you're going to die," and mine was it was the same. He described very, very much what I experienced. The world just started disappearing, and my body started disappearing, and I like, it's weird to try to explain a moment of awakening, and everything entered into me, and there was this stream of huge energy just sort of charging through my little body, and it felt like the energy was coming from like above, but it was coming from sideways too, and all my senses suddenly went like maximum sharpness. And I was hearing crickets and birds far away, and it was weird. And I got scared. That's what happened to me. I got scared. I said, I think I'm going to overload. And then it stopped. And I was suddenly standing in the field where I was, outside of a building, kind of blinking, and I kind of was saying, I wonder what the hell happened. And I spent quite a few years trying to understand that. So, yeah. And who's going to say that wasn't an experience from Holy Spirit? Like, I'm pretty careful about doing that now. And I did do that with other people too. Oh, that's not Holy Spirit. Oh, your ego and stuff like that. Yeah, I went through my phase with that stuff too. Is it wrong? Well, it's not very helpful, but I learned.
Yeah, I think that's something that I can relate to too, is getting scared suddenly, right? You have this opening, and then whoops, you get scared, and then it's suddenly gone. And I personally, when I had that type of an experience, I was really disappointed. I don't know if you had that same feeling. You were disappointed that it stopped, even though it was your being afraid that stopped it, right? Possibly that would be an explanation, but we don't know, right? Because I don't know why it stopped, right? It's just an idea that it might have been this afraidness to be misunderstood, or that one, this or that, right? Or it's too good to be true, or whatever the reasons the fear took on, right? Question is, I don't know if that's the cause that it stopped or whether something else was, right? I just don't know. What I do know is that it was wonderful and beautiful. Like you know, and Gary was explaining in the other podcast, right, how beautiful it is, right? Yeah, that's something we do know.
Yes, and there were so many aspects that were happening in that awakening, and I've never talked about this before, so this is kind of weird. it was sort of like, I'm going to compare it to a rainbow. That it requires rain, and it requires light, and the light has to be shining from a source that is not in the rain, and it has to be, and to be able to see it, you also can't be in the rain, and it's kind of analogous of that kind of an awakening, in that there are so many aspects, and I was kind of aware of all the aspects as they were there, but I was still in the rain. I was not awake enough to be able to sustain the energy that was coming through me. And so like, this is the first time that I've ever doubted, because you helped me with that just now. No, my fear didn't close. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to experience the full on. And what's been happening since that is I'm getting pieces, like different colors of the rainbow coming back in, and that's part of my experience now. And then sometimes it goes away again, and I'm okay with that. And I'm not. I had a whole long period where I was really, really upset that I would lose my awareness. I didn't like it. I just wanted it to be there all the time. And then I finally realized, oh, oops, that's ego too. Ego wants to hold on to, and it can't let go. But sometimes things just have to be let go of, so that they can grow, and then when I'm ready, then it'll be given back. It's like there is a plan, and I don't make it. That's one of my new ones recently. I don't make the plan. I have to make plans, but they usually change anyway. And what I do plan is that I don't really want to stop anymore, and I see sometimes how I am causing, but it's not really stopping either, because it's impossible to stop. I can see sometimes how I'm delaying, and then then Jesus says, is that what you really want? And he's really gentle with that one. He just says it really, really gently. He's not condescending in any way that way, and then I know I'm listening to Jesus, because he's not like, he's such a gentle voice. He always is for me, but he jokes with me too. I'll tell you one little story that I hope people can appreciate that, because I'm going to try to explain a miracle, okay? And I think I do a pretty good job on this one, but I'm not sure if, well, if you accept it, you accept it. That's the way it is. Now, I used to drive to my work, my former employer, for 45 minutes, and I would drive through the countryside of Germany, through many forested regions, and I would see deer jumping across the road, and that was normal. And I had not hit a deer since I started that job, and I was driving quite a lot through the darkness also. And then one morning, a voice came in my mind and said, "You had planned to hit a deer today." I said, "What?" Like, I was used to hearing this voice. I said, "What?" And I said, "Can you change that?" And the voice said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Oh, okay, thanks." And then I went on with my, fixed my lunch for the day, got in my car, and I started remembering what the voice had said, and I started sweating, and I started really concentrating really, really hard on not hitting the deer, focusing all my attention to make sure if I saw the deer, I would stop on time. And then the voice came again. Says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, you said you would take care of it." And it was just really quiet. And says, "Yeah, yeah." And, and then I couldn't. And then I was working with my mind. I saw how there was still this fear there. I said, and I was thinking, wow, this is weird. I know and I don't know. It's like here's the split mind. This is it. I'm trying to take care of myself, but I know I can't because I didn't know I was going to hit a deer. And so the voice would pop in and out occasionally, make little jokes with me, and help me let go, And eventually, I did. I was just relaxing and enjoying riding in the darkness because I don't. It's difficult for me because of my depth perception problem with driving in darkness. And then the day got finished, and I had forgotten all about the deer, and was driving home, and I had some difficulties at work that day, and I was what I thought was called listening to Holy Spirit, but I was doing a lot of the talking. So, and then this moment came, and it was too fast. There was just a flash. It was already dark on my way back. It was a flash. A deer had passed in front of my car, and there was no way I could have stopped with my foot. It was in and out of my awareness before I could do anything. And then there was this flash of light in my mind, and it was so bright that I had the thought, oh, I hope the people behind me didn't see that. They're gonna stop and see what if everything's, they're gonna. And then I calmed down again. I said, oh yeah, gifts are given.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's time to start wrapping up. So, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, I one thing that I would say for me is really important in A Course in Miracles, and I'm mentioning this because I'm feeling like it's being missed in the communities in large. There's a lot of arguing going back and forth of whether we should do it this way, do it that way, or and sometimes the verbal stuff is really getting nasty. And like I said, I don't want to think of it as an error. We are learning, but if the focus goes back onto what the book is actually called, that might help and speed up. And Jesus talks about that in A Course in Miracles, that we are in a speed up. That's what it is. And I think we need to speed up by doing a real careful study. I don't know a better word of the 50 principles in A Course in Miracles, and the way that Robert Perry put his book together. For me, it was really powerful that he put all those texts in between it, and I think it's really powerful. And the all the principles of Miracles became much more alive for me, but I didn't realize how important the principles of miracles were till after I had an accident in 2020, where I almost lost the ability to continue my job because I almost lost the ability to use my left arm. And after that happened, I thought to myself, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to just pretend I'm not a Course in Miracles student. I'm going to come out of the closet. And for some reason, the principles of miracles became really, really important to me. And I started rereading them, and they are just so beautiful. So incredibly beautiful, and they really open up by looking at them really carefully. What does that mean? What does that mean? How can I understand this? And of course, asking Jesus and Holy Spirit to help understanding. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for sharing so much, because there's a lot we gain by walking each other home. And you've been joining as a listener as well so many times.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And so I'm very happy you were able to share today again and deepen our conversation.
I'll tell you what happened for me tonight. So this was a wrap up. I was we had a little start problem there, and I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just go to bed, because I had a really intense physical day, and I got up pretty early, and I was thinking to text you in the beginning of the recording that I might need to go to bed early, and then I had this thought, and this is really cool. This is how this stuff works. I had this thought, well, maybe, Henry, you'll get some energy just from listening, and instead of listening, I got energy from sharing and hearing, being with you. But we sometimes are so confused about what we need.
Yes.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you too, and blessings, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. Please, if you like it, share it, let people know about this podcast, and if you want to be a guest, please let me know so I can schedule something. If you want to share a message of love and in connection with A Course in Miracles or any other teachings that you're going through or thoughts, because I have guests from very different backgrounds, so I'd be happy to hear from you. So blessings to you all, and till next time. Thank you, Henry.